Hi everyone, in this video we'll be learning how to push notifications inside our Flutter application using Firebase messaging, and we will be also learning how we can save FCM token of specific device inside our firestore. Since we are going to save the unique FCM token for each user, we also need to identify which token belongs to which user. For that reason, we need authentication. For authentication, we are going to be using Firebase Auth. This video consists of several parts. First, we'll be starting by adding Firebase authentication. Then we will continue to add Firebase notifications in all the three states: foreground, background, and terminated state. And then we'll learn how we can save FCM token inside our firestore. So let's start this video. First, let us start by creating a simple application using Flutter create command. Flutter create, you can give it any name as you like. Now navigate to the folder and open it in VS Code. We will be adding several packages. For that, we need to add some dependencies. Here, use Flutter pub add Firebase messaging, Flutter local notifications, Firebase scope, Firebase auth, Cloud Firestore. Click on enter and it will install all the dependencies for your project. Now, once done, you need to verify your pubsec.yaml file that all dependencies are added correctly or not. Inside left folder, create a new folder, name it as views. Here we'll write the UI logic. First, for our login page, here we'll be creating a stateful widget. For that, use stful and use the shortcut create a stateful widget. Give the name as login page, and here we'll have a scaffold instead of a placeholder. Remove the const scaffold. Here, first, we'll be having two text editing controllers. One will be our email controller and other will be our password controller, which we are going to be using to take the input from the user in form of text form fields. Inside scaffold body, we'll be having a center widget, and center will have a child of simple padding of 8 pixels. Padding will have a child of column, and column will have main axis alignment of center and cross axis alignment of start. Then we'll have some text with some basic text type, a size box of 10, again a text form field that will have the controller as email controller and label as email, again a size box of height 10, and now a text editing controller of password controller, and then again a size box of height 10, and then a size box of with double dot infinity, and that will have a elevated button with text of login, and then we'll be having a size box of height 10, and then we'll have a row that will have main axis alignment of center and cross axis alignment also of center. The children's will be first a simple text, no account, and then a text button of text register. Now, this was our first login page UI. Here, if we check main.dart file, currently it is running my homepage, the default the default widget that Flutter creates while building an app. Since we will be dealing with routes, so for that we'll not be using home, instead we'll be using routes. Let the root route be our login page that we have recently created, and here we will not be requiring default my home page. We can remove it. One more thing we need to do. Inside Android folder, app build.gradle, change the minimum SDK version to 21, and now let us test our app. Allow to install. Now this is how our basic login page looks like. Now similar to our login page, let us also create another file for sign up. Name it as signuppage.dart and just copy the login page UI because it will be very much similar, and here the name will be sign up page. Instead of login, it will be sign up. Here everything will be similar. The text will be different, like already have an account, and it will be login. Now add this inside our route. It will be our sign up route. So it will navigate to sign up page. Now it's okay. Now we need to link the navigation routes. When the user press the register button, the user should be navigated to our sign up page. For that, inside our login page, when the user press the register button, we will be using navigator.push name and providing the name of the route sign up. Now if we press register here, it is navigating us to the sign up page. Now this will be sign up, not login. Just change it. Now if we press the login button, it should redirect us back. For that, we can use navigator.pop context. It will navigate us back. Now after login or sign up, we need to show a home page. For that, let's create a home page. It will also be a stateful widget. Name it as home page. Here we'll be having a scaffold, and let's give it a app bar. We'll have a app bar widget of title, text, home, and in our actions, we'll be having an icon button. On this, we will do nothing for now. An icon will be icons.logout. Now we have almost built the UIs. Now let us work on the authentication part first. First, we need to visit our Firebase console. Here we can either create a new project or use an existing project. In my case, I am creating a new project. Give it a name. Save token Firebase. Click on continue. Disable Google Analytics for now, we don't need it. Create project. Now click on continue. Here we need to add our Flutter app. For that we need to have Firebase CLI installed. If you don't have Firebase CLI installed, then you can either download the exe or install it via npm by simple running this command. For this you need to have node and npm installed in your system. Now let us start by doing Firebase login. So here we need to open our terminal and here use Firebase login. Click on Y and it will ask you to authenticate with your account. Click with the desired account you want. Now allow it. Now our login is successful. Now we can move to the next step. Here we can run this command now. Paste this. And after that also run this command. Now our Firebase CLI had added a Firebase options.dart file. Now what we need to do here inside our main.dart, we need to first make this function async, and after that use widget flutter binding dot ensure initialized, and then initialize our Firebase app. We need to import Firebase from Firebase core.dart and also default Firebase options from Firebase options.dart file that our Firebase CLI has created. Now pause, now stop the app and rerun it again. Now our app is running, we are having no problems. Here we'll be creating folder, name it as controllers. Here we'll be creating a new file. Let's name it as authservice.dart. Here we'll be creating a class, name it as authservice. Here we'll be writing our first function for creating a new account. Let us create a static future return type of string function. We are naming it as create account with email. Here we are going to expect email and password parameters to be passed to this function. It will be an async function, and here we'll use try catch to handle any exceptions. Here we'll be using Firebase auth.instance.create user with email and password. For email, we'll be providing the email that we're accepting, and password, the password that we're expecting. And after our account is created, we'll be returning account created. And on Firebase auth exception, we'll be returning the error message to string. And in case of any other exception, we'll just return that error to string. For this, we need to import Firebase auth. Just import the package Firebase auth.dart. Now this was our account creating function. Now let's write a function for login. Similar to our sign up, we are going to be writing the function for login the user with email and password method. So for that, we are going to create a static future return type of string function, naming it as login with email. Here also we are going to expect the user to pass email and password. It will be an async function. Then using try catch, first we'll be using firebase.instance dot sign in with email password, provide the email and password. Then we will return login successful if everything happens correctly. Otherwise, in case of exception, we are going to return the error message to string. And in case of any other exception, we are going to catch it and return that error to string. For logging out, we are going to be simply using a static logout function that will call Firebase instant.signout, and it will log out the user from the device. And we also need a function to check whether the user is signed in or not. For that, let's create another static is logged in function that will call Firebase instance.currentUser, and then we'll check if the user is not equal to null. So if the user is not equal to null, it means that the user is logged in. It will return true, otherwise it will return false. Now we have written all the functions for our authentication. Now we need to link this function with our UI. Now we need to link our home page with our routes. So here we'll be having /home. It will be our home page. Here we'll be creating a stateful widget. Let's name it as check user. Here inside our init state, we'll be using auth service dot is logged in. So it will provide us a value either true or false. Then the value that we'll receive, if its value means it is true, in that case, we'll navigate the user to the home route using navigator.push replacement. Else, we'll navigate the user to the login page. Now here, instead of our root route, here for our root route, we'll not have login page. Instead, we'll have check user page. And for our login page, we'll have login route. Here we'll have a scaffold and body will have a center. Child will be circular progress indicator. Now if we restart our application, you'll find a circular progress indicator for a very short period of time. We need to visit our Firebase console. From here we need to select authentication. Here we need to provide a sign-in method. Click on setup sign-in method. We will be only requiring email password method for now. Click on email password and enable email password method. We don't need passwordless sign-in for now. Click on save. Now our email password method has been enabled. Inside our signup page.dart file, we need to make this onPressed function async, and then we will await call the class authService dot create account with email, the function that we have created, and pass the email controller dot text and password controller dot text. And after that, we'll be getting a value in return, type of string. So if there is a value, if the value of string is equal to account created, it means everything has worked correctly and account has been created. In that case, we'll be showing us snack bar of account created, and after that, we'll be redirecting the user to home page using navigator.push named and remove until to our home route. Now, here we are using navigator.push named and remove until, because if a new user sign up, we are first showing the login page, then they sign up, and if they register, then we are navigating the user to the home page. If we use navigator.push replacement, in that case, sign up gets removed, but login still stays on stack. Now, if the user press back button from the home page, then they will be sent back to the login page. In that case, it will not be a correct thing. For that reason, we are using navigator.push named and remove until. Else, we'll show an error snack bar of colors.red.shade 400. It will show the error message. Now let's try to sign up. So now here we are getting redirected to our home page, and it's also showing a snack bar of account created. Let's verify with our users. Here, as you can see that our account is also getting created. Inside our home page, when the user presses this icon button of logout, we need to make this onPressed function async, and then we need to use await authService.logout function that we have created, and after that we will be navigating back our user to the login page using navigator.push replacement name to our login route. We need to also import authService. Now if we restart, you'll find that we are getting redirected to the home page directly. Now if we log out, we are getting redirected to the login page. Now if we restart, we are getting redirected to the login page. It means that check user is working correctly. Now let us work on the login page. Here when we press the on press button, on press, first we'll make this async and then we will use await, use auth service dot login with email function that we have created and pass the email controller dot text and password controller dot text. Then we'll be getting some value in response in form of string. If the value is equal to login successful, it means that everything was correct and now we can redirect the user to the home page. First, we'll show a snack bar of login successful and then we'll use navigator.push replacement to redirect the user to the home page. Else, we'll show the error message with a snack bar of colors.red.shade 400 background color. So now let's try to log in. So now here we are getting login successful and we are getting redirected to our home page. Now also test with errors. Let's try to enter some wrong email and wrong password. So here we are also getting the error message. Now our authentication path is done. Now we can focus on the notification adding part. Now we have already added the necessary packages that we will be requiring for receiving notifications like Flutter local notifications, Firebase messaging. Now we need to ask the permissions for the Android device. So for that, visit Android app src main. Here you will find Android manifest.xml file. Click here. Now we need to add some permissions. First two permissions are for internet access. Then next for receiving boot completed and vibration and full screen intent and exact alarm permissions. And also post notifications permission for Android 13 and above. Now just save it. Now we need to create another file. Name it as notification service dot dart. Here we need to create a class name it as push notifications. Here we'll be creating a static final Firebase messaging variable and we'll initialize it to Firebase messaging dot instance and then we'll be creating another static final variable of Flutter local notifications plugin. Name it as underscore Flutter local notifications plugin and initialize it to Flutter local notifications plugin. Now we need to import these plugins, Firebase messaging and Flutter local notifications. To request notification permissions and then create a static future init function, make it async and there we'll use await underscore Firebase messaging dot request permission and here we are going to be providing all the properties. And after requesting the permission, now we can get our device token. So let's use final await underscore Firebase messaging dot get token and we are storing it in a variable called naming as token. Now we can print our token. In this case, it will print our FCM token. Now for receiving notifications in our foreground state, we need to we have to use Flutter local notifications to show the notifications. For that, let's create a function to initialize local notifications. Name the function as static future local noti init. You can name it anything. Make it async. Then we need to use Android initialization settings. Here we mainly need to provide the app icon or the icon that the notification will have. Then Darwin settings for iOS and Linux settings for Linux. Then we need to use initialization settings and specify all the initialization settings that we have declared. And then we need to request permissions for Android 13 and above. This is a new thing. So use underscore flutter local notifications plugin dot resolve platform specific implementation. And here we need to call it dot request notifications permission. It will request host notifications permission for Android 13 and above, the permission that we have declared inside our Android manifest.xml. And then we need to call Flutter local notifications plugin dot initialize for initializing the notifications with initialization settings. Here we need to pass our initialization settings, and it also expect us two functions: did receive notifications and did receive background notifications. We can create a simple on notification tab function for both of them, like this. When the user taps on the notification in foreground, here to handle this, we are creating a new function on notification tab, and here we expect to pass notification response. For now, we don't need to do anything. Now, if we call this local noti init, it will initialize local notifications. Now we need to call this init and local init functions to initialize local notifications and Firebase messaging inside our main.dart file before running our application. So here inside our void main async function, we will be writing the we'll be calling await push notifications.init to initialize Firebase messaging and await push notifications.local init to initialize local notifications. It will ask for notifications permissions and then it will generate a FCM token for us. Now let's stop this application and try to run it again. Now after initializing it, it's providing us the FCM token here. This is the FCM token for this device. For our easy navigation from one route to another, we'll be creating a navigator key, a variable navigator key, and assign it to global key of navigator state. And now inside our material app, we can pass navigator key as the navigator key that we have created. We can take the help of navigator key to navigate the user from one route to another. Now we need to also create a very simple message screen. For that, inside views, we'll create a message dot dart file, and here we'll be creating a stateful widget message. It will be a scaffold. For app bar, we'll be having a simple app bar of title text your message. Here we'll be having a map of payload. When we redirect the user from any screen to the message screen. In that case, we need to pass some data. For that, we'll be creating a new variable, data, and we will catch the data in form of model route dot of context dot settings dot arguments, and here we'll be getting the data. Now we'll be getting the data of two types. First one as a return type of remote message, and second one is of notification response. Now for our background and terminated state, we'll be getting it in form of remote message. So the data will be in form of JSON. We don't need to decode it, and store the JSON data that we are getting inside our payload. For foreground state, we need to check if the data is of notification response. Then we need to decode it to JSON type. So for that, we'll use JSON decode and decode the data.payload that is coming from our Flutter local notifications. And we need to import this packages, first remote messages, local notification response, and JSON decode. Now our data is now available inside our payload. In that case, we can show the payload inside center child text payload dot to string. Now it will show the payload that we are receiving from the notification, and also here we need to add the route or as message context. It will be our message screen. For our background notifications, we need to create a function that will listen to background notification changes. Function to listen to background changes. So we are naming the function as fire underscore firebase background message, and we are expecting to pass remote message, make it async. If there is any message, in that case, we are just printing some notifications received in background. Now we have created this function outside the main function. Now inside our main function, after both of our initialization are done, we need to listen to background notifications using firebase dot on background message, and it accepts us a future function of remote message handler to be passed. So for here we can pass this underscore firebase background message function that we have created. Now it will listen to any background message that we receive. Inside our Android manifest.xml file, after adjust resize, just add this 3 more activity. And here we need to visit Firebase, engage, and select messaging. Here we need to create our first campaign as Firebase notifications. Now just this is a test notification, test app, and then we can send a test message. Here we need to provide the absent token. So use this token, our device token. Now let's test it. Now here we are getting the notification. Run our app in background and then send the test notification. Here we are getting a test notification, and it's also showing some notifications received in background. Means the function that we have created is getting called after we are receiving a background notification. Now if the user taps on the background message, we want it to open on the message page instead of the default home page. So what we are going to do, we are going to create, we are going to be using Firebase dot on message open app, and there we are going to listen. Here we'll be getting a response of remote message. So we are using the variable message, and then if message dot notification is not equal to null, it means that there is some notification. In that case, we'll be first printing background notification tag, and then we'll be using navigator key dot current state, add a null check, and then push named. Here we need to provide the name of the route. It will be our message route, this route that we have created. And then here inside our message route, we are also expecting us the payload of message to be passed in form of model route. So we'll be also passing the arguments, and here we'll pass the remote message payload that it's coming from Firebase background message. Now let's save it. Now if we try to click it for now, it's opening our home page because it didn't get reflected. Now let's try to stop our app and rerun it again. Now again, make our app in background and send a test message. This time we will also send the payload. Key as hello and value as world. And here in notification, click on send a test message. Use the same if same token. Now we are receiving a background message. Click on here. Now it's redirecting us to the message route, and it's also showing us the payload that we have passed. Now for showing notifications in our foreground state, we need to use local notifications, and with the help of that we are going to show simple notification. So first, here we are going to write the function to show a simple notification using local notifications. Create a static future show simple notifications function. Here we are going to expect title, body, and the payload, make it async, and here const Android notification details, create a new variable Android notification details, and there we need to initialize it by providing a channel ID, channel name, channel description, importance level to importance.max, and priority to priority.high, and then a ticker, naming as ticker, and then we'll create a notification details variable of notification details. There we'll provide the Android notification details that we have created just above. Now we'll use await flutter local notifications dot show. Here we need to provide the ID, title, body, notification details, and the payload. So let us provide ID, title, body, notification details, and the payload. This title, body, and payload, we are expecting it to be passed by calling this function, and notification details is how we are initializing the Android notification details. Now, if we call this function, it will simply create and show a simple notification in our foreground state. Now, if we tap on the notification on foreground state, in that case, we are not doing anything. We can use navigator.currentState.push name, and here we need to provide the name of the route, that is message, and in our arguments, we'll provide the notification response. Now in our message UI, we have already written the code for handling notification response arguments. We need to import this navigator key that we have written in our main.dart file. Now, if the user press the notification in the foreground state, it will redirect to the message page and show the payload. Now, we need to also link it with our main.dart file. Now, for handling, now we need to call this show notification function. Now, we need to listen to the notifications when in our foreground state. For that, inside our main.dart file, now here we can create the logic to handle foreground notifications. First, we'll use firebase.onMessage.listen, and here we'll be getting remote message. Here we are creating a string payload data. Here we'll encode the message.data, means the payload that is coming from the remote message, and then we will print got a message in foreground. If the message dot notification is not equal to null, it means that we have received some notification. In that case, we'll use push notification dot show simple notification, and we need to provide title, body, and payload. The title will be message dot notification null check dot title null check, and body will be message dot notification dot body. And for payload, we need to pass the JSON encode payload data that we are creating. Here we need to import JSON encode from that dot convert. Now if we run our application, now our app is in foreground state. Now let us send a notification from here. Now here it's showing this is a test notification. When we click here, it is redirecting to the message page and also showing the payload that we have passed. It means that we are also able to handle the notification in foreground state. Now for handling notifications in terminated state, we need to create a new variable of return type of remote message. We are using question mark because the value may be available or may not be available. For that, here we are creating a variable message, and here we'll use await firebase messaging dot instance dot get initial message. And here, if our message is not equal to null, it means that we have received some message, and then we'll print launched from terminated state. Then we'll wait for some time and then use future dot delay for 1 second, and then we will navigate the user to the message page, passing the message as arguments. So now let's save it. Now it would be better to stop the application and uninstall the app and build the app again, install it. Now our FCM token will change. This is our new FCM token. Just copy it. For our test message, add this new FCM token. Now here, currently this app is running in background. Now if we remove this, we lost the connection. Now let's try to send a test message. You'll find that we are getting the notification. Currently the app is in terminated state. If we click on this notification, it is redirecting us to the message page, and it's also showing us the payload. Now if we click back, it's taking us to the login page. So it means that we have successfully added the functionality to deal with notifications in terminated state. Now for all the three states, foreground, background, and terminated state, notifications are working. Now let's move on and start saving the device FCM token to the Firestore database. In our case, we are selecting Firestore database, but it has no limit. You can choose any database depending on your need. Now here in Firebase console, visit build, here select Firestore database. Here we need to create a database. Here just choose the nearest location. And for now, let's keep it for test mode. Now our Firestore database has been created. We need to visit rules, and currently we are allowing read and write if the request time is less than this timestamp, but this is not so good. We can modify this and add a new rule. If request.auth is not equal to null, it means the user should be authenticated for reading and writing inside our Firestore database. Now we can publish this. For saving the device FCM token inside Firebase Firestore, we need to create a new file, name it as createservice.dart. Now here we'll be creating a class of createservice, and inside that we'll have a static user variable of return type of Firebase user. We'll assign Firebase auth.instance.current user. Now here we'll write the logic for saving our FCM token to Firestore. Make a static future function, name it as save user token. It will expect us to pass a token of type string. Make it async. Here we are creating a map of string and dynamic, naming it as data, and here we are going to use a key of email and store the current user email and a key of token that we are going to use to store the FCM device token. And this way we are creating a map of data, and then we'll use try catch. First we'll call await firebase firestore.instance.collection. Here we are creating collection user data. We are creating a document of the user ID, current user ID, and then we are setting the data that we have created. And now after that we are printing the document is added. In catch, we'll just print the error if any error occurs. We can also print error in saving to firestore and the error. Now we need to call the save user token when we are retrieving the FSIM token inside our notification service.dart. Here when we are calling the init function, at that time we are just getting the token, but we are calling this init function in our main.dart file. After we are launching the app, we are calling the init function. But since we have written the logic that we cannot write in our database if we are not authenticated, for that we need to separate the logic for getting the token. Here we'll write another function. It will be static future get device token, and here we'll make it async, and after that we'll be getting the token. Now if we call this function get device token, we'll be getting the token, and by this point we also need to save the device token to Firestore. Now here first we'll be checking if the user is logged in or not. So we'll use that auth service dot is logged in function. It will return either true or false, and then if the user is logged in, then in that case we'll be saving the token to Firestore and we'll be printing save to Firestore. And also if the token changes, we also need to listen to it. For that, we'll be using Firebase messaging dot on token refresh dot listen. This event will get called when the FCM token changes. At that time, it will be also same. We'll check if the user is logged in. Then we will save the token. Now we need to call this get device token function inside our home page. So visit home.dat file. We'll call it inside init state push notifications dot get device token. Now the user that we are declaring here will not get changed if we call the save user token function. So if somebody logs in and log out, in that case it might cause a problem. For that, let's not make it a static variable and use this user here, and every time we call the user, we'll call firebase dot instance dot current user, and after that we'll be saving it to collection of user data of document user.user UID, and then we can say document added to $user.uid. Now we are calling the push notifications.get notification inside our push notifications.get device token in home page. Now if we try to log in, now currently our Firestore database is empty. If we just log in, you'll find it is giving that document added to this document ID. Now if you check, it's not showing anything, just refresh. Now it's giving the user ID, the email and the FCM token. Now if we log out and register with another account, now here our account got created and it's shown document saved to this user ID. Now as you can see, the email is different but the device token is same. Now this is how we can save the FCM token inside our Firestore database. So that's all for this video. I hope that now we'll be able to integrate push notifications inside your Flutter application. So thank you.